She sat across from him, absent-mindedly poking at her cold dinner with a fork, as if she already knew she was about to bring their world crashing down. One question, and everything unraveled. Carefully rehearsed lines, theories about freedom and personal growth, all wrapped in the guise of concern. She wanted something new, new faces, new feelings, and suggested opening the marriage, not because something was missing, but because she was bored. But there are lines you cross that you can never return from. He agreed, not out of curiosity, but because he knew. This was the end. While she was off discovering new versions of herself, he was building the exit. Quietly, calculated, cold. He had given her everything, and in return, she offered him a front-row seat to the dismantling of his own life. Now it was her turn, to watch as he erases her from his. Hello, my friend. I'm so glad you stopped by my channel. If you're here for the first time, don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends or family. It really helps my channel a lot. Please tell me in which city or country you watched this video. I value every one of your comments. So, let's get started. I can still picture the night everything came crashing down, etched in my memory like a scene on repeat. Emily was seated across from me at the dining table, absently pushing her salmon around the plate, barely nibbling at it. Her eyes were distant, as though she were lost in thought, trying to unravel a puzzle with no pieces. Is everything okay? I finally asked, cutting through the thick silence. She blinked, almost as if I'd yanked her from another world, then gently set her fork aside. Yes. No. I don't know. She sighed, her voice trailing off before steadying. Justin, there's something I need to say. It's serious. I recognized that tone, one she usually used when proposing a spontaneous home renovation or adopting a dog. But this time, something was different, heavier. I leaned forward cautiously. Okay, I'm listening. She hesitated. Her fingers fidgeted with her wedding ring, slowly twisting it back and forth. I've been doing a lot of thinking. About us. About how long we've been together. And I think maybe it's time to try something new. My forehead creased. New how? She paused before answering, and when she did, her words landed like a punch. I think we should try an open marriage. I stared at her, convinced I'd misheard. An open marriage? I echoed, the disbelief sharp in my voice. She nodded, her eyes locked on mine, though I could see the uncertainty swirling beneath the surface. Yes, Justin, I love you. I truly do. But I feel like we've settled into this routine. Maybe this could help us rediscover who we are together. A bitter laugh slipped from my lips before I could stop it. It was raw and cutting. So, let me get this straight. You want to sleep with other people but keep me as your husband? How generous of you. It's not just about intimacy, she snapped back, changing her tone as if defending herself. It's about personal growth, trust. We explore ourselves beyond the limits we have set. You really think I signed up for this? I said, shaking my head. I married you, not some self-actualization experiment disguised as a relationship. The rest of the night was a blur of arguments. She came ready, with phrases she'd clearly rehearsed. She said it wasn't because something was missing in me, talked about how monogamy was a social construct, cited examples of other couples who had tried it and come out stronger. I pushed back at every turn, telling her it felt like betrayal dressed up as enlightenment, that all it would do was unravel everything we'd built. But she held her ground. She leaned in, voice rising with urgency. I've been reading about this, she said, eyes steady. Couples who try it rediscover themselves. Their connection deepens. Justin, we've been married 10 years. I need more. I need to feel alive again. I need something new. Something new? I repeated, my voice cracking. Isn't that what this was supposed to be? Marriage, committing, building a life. She let out a frustrated groan, her words tinged with desperation. This isn't about you. You're amazing. I mean that. but I feel hollow inside. I don't want to lose you. I still love you. I just think we might both grow from this." My stomach churned. The woman I had vowed to spend my life with was now asking for permission to sleep with other men. I never imagined those words would come from her. I hadn't braced for this. "I don't know, Emily," I muttered, shaking my head slowly. "This doesn't sit right with me. How would something like that even work?" She reached across the table, her hand brushing mine, gentle, almost pleading. "We'd make rules, clear guidelines, no emotions, full honesty. We'd talk about everything. Justin, I need this, but I don't want to do it without you." Eventually, I agreed, not because I shared her vision, but because I needed to see where this would go. Maybe I was driven by a quiet sense of doom. Maybe I wanted to witness the wreckage firsthand. Even as I spoke the words she wanted to hear, my mind was already elsewhere, skimming ahead to the end of the story. If she was opening our marriage to others, then I was closing the chapter on us. That thought hit cold and deep, like ice splintering in my chest. I didn't say anything then, but I'd already made my decision. The very next morning, I began laying the foundation. While she went about her usual morning routine, I was online researching asset protection. I contacted 2 financial advisors. I booked a consultation with a divorce attorney. I laid everything bare: her proposal, my gut instinct, my exit strategy. As far as I was concerned, our marriage was already over. She just hadn't realized it yet. But I knew better than to show my hand before I was ready. Until everything was arranged, until the legal safeguards were in place and my future was secure, I decided to play along with her little social experiment. I wouldn't give her the satisfaction of seeing me flinch. The days that followed felt surreal, like I was trapped in someone else's life. But behind every smile, every casual nod, I was quietly orchestrating the end. Emily didn't waste a second stepping into her newfound freedom. It was as if a switch had been flipped. Overnight, her style transformed. Her clothes hugged her curves with more intent. Her heels struck the floor with sharper purpose, and the perfume she wore was no scent I recognized. And then, as if scripted, she began dating other people. That was when the shift began, for both of us. It started one calm Saturday morning when Avery, her closest friend, came by for a casual cup of coffee. Avery had been a fixture in our lives for years, quick with a joke, magnetic in a way that balanced Emily's reserved, poised demeanor. She had that rare quality that drew people in without trying. As we sat chatting in the living room, Emily excused herself to take a phone call, leaving Avery and me alone. That's when I noticed something I hadn't before. Her expression wasn't laced with the sympathy I'd gotten used to from others. No, it was more nuanced, something softer, maybe even affectionate. And if I was honest, there was a glimmer of flirtation in her eyes. I'd seen traces of it before, a joke that lingered too long, a glance that seemed to hold weight, a smile that felt like an invitation. I used to shrug it off. She was Emily's friend, I was a husband. Back then, there were lines I refused to blur. Even the thought of entertaining those feelings felt like a betrayal. But those rules had been rewritten the moment Emily brought up the idea of an open relationship. The walls that once defined our marriage had collapsed. And for the first time, I didn't look away. I held Avery's gaze. "She's really going all in on this open marriage thing, isn't she?" Avery murmured, her tone deliberate and low. I glanced over, curious. "Why do you say that?" She lifted one shoulder in a casual shrug. "Just the way she acts around you, like you're barely there. It doesn't sit right with me." Her words hit harder than I expected. Over the days that followed, Avery and I started talking more. At first it was innocent. Brief texts, playful back and forth, but it didn't stay surface level for long. She became the person I turned to, the one who reminded me I was still seen. One evening we decided to meet at a bar, just us. We didn't need pretense anymore. The conversation flowed easily, familiar and light, but with a thread of tension running just beneath. That night, something changed. The undercurrent we'd both ignored before rose to the surface. She gave me a look I'd seen many times, teasing, confident, but now it carried more weight. "Justin," she said softly, leaning in, "want to come back with me?" I didn't hesitate. "Yeah," I answered, the word coming out before I even had time to think. The drive to her place was quiet, heavy with anticipation. We didn't need to speak. We both knew exactly what this was. By the time we stepped through her front door, the air between us was electric. She reached for me and kissed me, slow, assured. When she pulled back, her breathing was uneven, her eyes bright with emotion. "I've wanted this for so long," she whispered. "I always liked you, Justin. But you were married. I never thought this would actually happen. Still, I'm glad it did." There was no turning back after that. We moved toward her bedroom with a sense of clarity I hadn't felt in years. Everything else faded. In the days that followed, Emily dove headfirst into the life she claimed to have wanted. She started coming home later, more dressed up, exuding a kind of restless confidence, as if she was trying to make up for lost time. I, on the other hand, stayed still, steady. I let her set the tone, but I already knew the equilibrium had shifted beyond repair. Then, one night, she stumbled in, her perfume mingling with red wine, and a stranger's cologne. I was sitting on the couch, waiting. "How was your night?" I asked, keeping my tone level. She paused mid-step before answering. "It was fine. I met someone." "You met someone," I echoed, watching her closely. She added quickly, "We just talked." Her voice wavered as she moved toward the kitchen. But I knew better. She hadn't just talked. She'd crossed that same line. Still, I held my tongue. Let the silence stretch. Let her feel it. I wasn't going to pretend I didn't see through it. This was her game, her new terms. I was simply abiding by them. Eventually, I spoke again, casually. "So, was it good? Did you have fun?" She stiffened. A flush spread along her neck. Yeah, it was good." I gave a slow nod. And then, almost offhandedly, I dropped my own truth. "I did too, actually, last night." Her head whipped around, eyes sharp with disbelief. "What?" she asked, her voice brittle. "Yeah," I said, letting each word land with intent. "I spent the night with someone. She was amazing. Honestly, one of the best nights I've had in a while." I kept my face calm, unreadable, as I watched her take it in. "You were right, Emily. This is exactly what we needed." There it was, the flicker. That flash of jealousy. She tried to hide it, turning back toward the kitchen, pretending to be busy. But I saw the way her fingers trembled, the way her back straightened with tension. "You're not angry?" she asked, her voice clipped and cautious. "No," I said easily. "Why would I be? This was your idea, remember? I'm just following your lead. I'm simply following the rules you set." Fair game, isn't it? The space between us turned thick with tension, her silence laced with disbelief as she processed my words. I had twisted her logic back on her, and the discomfort it brought her was almost palpable. "Who is she?" Emily asked at last, her voice brittle, tinged with something sharp, part pain, part accusation. I gave a nonchalant shrug, keeping the satisfaction off my face. "Doubt she's someone you'd know," I replied. "But she sees me, really sees me, makes me feel whole." Her fingers curled tighter around the countertop. A glint of jealousy flared in her eyes, betraying her before she could smooth her features into indifference. "You're not that important, Justin. I don't give a damn who you sleep with." But she did. Far more than she was willing to admit. What began between Avery and me was easy, effortless. At first, just a spark without expectation. But it didn't stay that way. With each meeting, something deeper quietly formed. It wasn't just passing time, it was connection. Real, unexpected. I found myself laughing more, lingering in our conversations, craving the next moment with her like air after drowning. And behind the scenes, the rest of the plan unfolded. Quiet, calculated, unforgiving. Divorce had always been part of the endgame, but I wasn't about to let Emily walk away with half of everything, just because she'd grown bored and wandered into other men's beds. My legal team made sure every angle was covered, assets safeguarded, accounts disguised in plain sight, properties reclassified. The snare was ready. Emily wouldn't see a penny more than I allowed. She had no clue the walls were closing in. I played it patiently, waited for the perfect moment. And when she stepped out to meet yet another so-called friend, I made the call. Avery answered. I told her, tonight's the night. I needed her here. It had to be just the two of us, and I wanted Emily to witness exactly what she'd thrown away. I set everything deliberately, every detail in place. Avery showed up soon after, that effortless smile on her lips, as if she already understood the weight of what the evening would bring. There were no formalities. We were far past that. In the bedroom, tangled in her warmth, the bitterness dissolved into something cleaner. The betrayal, the years of Emily's lies, the slow corrosion of everything I had tried to preserve, it all faded into a single pure sensation: clarity. I didn't need Emily anymore. I had chosen something real, with Avery. Then, like a well-rehearsed scene, I heard the door. Her voice echoed through the hall. Justin? My body stilled for just a beat. Avery slipped away from me, already heading toward the entrance. It was happening. Emily stepped into the room, her eyes freezing on the sight before her. The blood drained from her face. What? What is this? She asked, her voice cracking under the weight of confusion and dawning horror. I rose calmly, my voice level. Is something wrong, sweetheart? Her hands trembled. She backed away a step, struggling to breathe. You? With her? Yes. Her voice broke. But we had an agreement. See other people, sure, but no emotions, no attachments. Avery walked forward, her tone deceptively breezy. Appreciate the freedom, really. Justin's incredible, by the way. Best I've ever had. Emily's face twisted, shock warping into something deeper, something guttural. You? You slept with my husband? You were supposed to be my best friend. How could you betray me like this? Her words fractured with grief, the pain finally rising to the surface. Avery's gaze stayed steady. You wanted an open marriage. We just followed the guidelines you laid out. And what's going on between Justin and me? It's not just about intimacy. She looked Emily dead in the eye. We're together, for real. Tears welled up in Emily's eyes. She stared at us, stunned, like someone watching her world cave in from the inside. So, this is real? You're choosing her? I took a breath and stepped closer. There was nothing left to hide. No more veils, no more games. Yes, Emily, I'm with her, and it's not a fling. Her sobs turned raw, her body trembling, but I wasn't finished. I've already filed the paperwork. This marriage is over. Her face crumpled, shattered by the truth. You filed for divorce? She whispered, barely above a breath. Justin, please, don't do this. We can fix it. Let's just talk. Just talk. I shook my head. Firm. Final. No, Emily. There's nothing left to fix. You've done more than enough. I gave you the space you wanted. But that ends now. I'm done. Done with this, and done with you. Her body gave out beneath the weight of it all, collapsing to the floor as her hands covered her face and sobs tore through her. I never meant to hurt you, she murmured through the tears. There was a time when I believed in second chances, when I thought we could rebuild, find some version of happiness again. All she ever really wanted was to feel something real. I looked down at her, my face unreadable. Is that what this was about? just chasing some sense of being alive. You never once stopped to think about what this would do to me, Emily, what it would do to us. But now, I'm finally thinking about what I need, and this is it. The silence that followed said more than any argument ever could. Emily wept quietly on the floor. Behind me, Avery stood in stillness, her presence firm, her resolve unshaken. There was no comfort left for Emily. Not from me, not from anyone in that room. She had lost everything. When the divorce was finalized, she walked away empty-handed. No payout, no property, nothing from the life we had built together. She stepped out of that house one final time, and I never saw her again. Soon after, I put the house up for sale, not just to move on from the structure, but to bury the remnants of everything it symbolized. The broken promises, the deception, the pain. I needed space, a clean break from all of it. Avery and I packed up and started over in a new city, ready to begin a life untouched by what came before. In that new place, I began to rebuild, not a copy of the past, but something real, something earned. With the shadows behind me and Avery beside me, I could finally move forward. This story has come to an end. What's your opinion? Share it in the comments, my friend. And if you like this story, check out other exciting videos on my channel. I'll say goodbye until the next video. See you.